Hey, welcome to another episode of Rocket Revenue Podcast. My name is Troy Barter. What I wanted to go over this week is how to start to turn your sales team, your sales process, the amount of sales that you're getting in, really your sales funnel into a conveyor belt. You know, we talked about this for weeks now, right? Where we're talking about how at Rocket Shipping we're building, repeatable revenue, where it's scalable, it's repeatable, and it's predictable. Well, this is how we figured out how to do that here that has worked extremely well to the point now that really by probably midway through Q2, we will have hit our target for the year and be going way beyond that. And we've talked about in the past how we're looking to go up market, or not even looking to. We have gone up market, instead of worrying about deals where people might be shipping, 5 or 10 LTL shipments a month. When I say LTL, I mean stuff on a pallet. So 5 to 10 pallets of stuff a month. We're focused on stuff that's 50 or more at this point, where it really starts to actually make a difference in the number, in the book of business for the sellers that we have, and on top of that, I've worked out a cadence. It's a combination between our deal view in HubSpot along with additional assistance that I provide to our team in a meeting that I do with the team, and wanted to kind of cover what we go over, how we do it, what is our weekly rhythm. And it's really just 2 meetings that I focus on with our sellers that has started to turn things into a massive difference. And what this has done for us, just these 2 meetings, it's a one-on-one and then one other group meeting. That's it. We might have a couple of other meetings throughout the week, but those meetings, if they didn't exist, they don't really matter. And honestly, I really try to not have any meetings that don't matter. I try to remove sellers from any meeting where if they exited the meeting, they'd be like, well, that didn't make me any additional money. I want them to be in exclusively, whenever I can, just meetings where when they exit the meeting, they're like, I'm either going to make more money than I would have if I wasn't in that meeting, or I feel like I already am about to make more money or already am making more money based on what happened in that meeting. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So first, when my first meeting that I have with the sellers is, again, it's not a group meeting. It's just a one-on-one meeting. And we used to have a group sales meeting, and then we also had a one-on-one meeting. And in the group sales meeting, we would do a deal walk. When I say a deal walk, I'm not looking to micromanage them and say, oh, you have this missing and you have that missing in HubSpot or in the CRM. You need to update that. They start to see me updating those things, and over time they realize that if I'm willing to do it, then they should be doing it as well. Now, I do tell them that, but they don't view me as a manager that's telling them what to do. They view me as a leader that is in the thick of things with them and making things happen. And there's a massive difference between those 2 things, because you want your team to want to fight for you, and you want your team to want to fight with you, not for you. Forgive me on that. They never should be really looking to do much of anything for you, but they view you like you're as valuable to the team and to their production as they are. That's the goal. Well, the only way that you're really going to be able to do that is by getting in the thick of it with them and being willing to show them things, work with them. So the first meeting that we have is a one-on-one. We used to do it a group meeting where we did a group deal walk. The issue with a group deal walk is that for half of the meeting, if we have 2 sellers, let's say half of the meeting, could be more than that. If you have 3 sellers, then it's 2/3 of the meeting. They're sitting there watching other people walk through their deals. And sure, they might learn something, but I felt like they weren't learning enough for it to be worth their time. I could get more out of them and get a larger return if they were on the phone during that time, or if they were doing a follow-up email or anything but just sitting there watching somebody else walk through their deals and talk about where they're at, where they might need help and everything like that. So instead, we do it in a one-on-one. And I tell them, hey, one-on-one's a half hour. I'd like to talk about a whole lot of different things. So the better that you have your deal walk updated before we get into the one-on-one, the less we need to walk through that. And I'll give you an idea kind of what that looks like. A quick share will help that out. So this is what a deal walk looks like. And I did a decent job, I think, of blurring out any sensitive information or anything like that. But really what we're looking at is deal names, the deal stage. SQL essentially just means that the salesperson has talked to them. They've verified, you see to the right, that's monthly volume. In other words, the amount of pallets that are getting shipped out with stuff on them. They don't just ship out empty pallets. But we get an idea of the size of the potential opportunity there. And then the stage. So an SQL, again, is a salesperson has talked to somebody over at the company, some prospect over there, has been able to verify the monthly volume and verify enough to say, like, all right, this is probably something that we would want to work, and I want to keep this in my funnel, so I'm going to move it over to SQL. It is a sales qualified lead. Is it absolutely fully qualified? No, but it's qualified enough that they know that they want to keep it in funnel based on the initial conversation. That's an SQL. And then from there, it goes to S0, where we booked a meeting, S1, all the way down to closed one. So that's the first thing. And then we can, if there's a whole lot in their funnel, we can filter and sort this by stage and say, all right, we don't have that much time. Let's not worry about the SQL. So let's worry about the stuff that's a little bit deeper in the funnel. And we can funnel that out, or we can filter that out, or sort it out. And then we can make sure that we make the best use of our time in the deal walk. We're going through everything. And obviously when I'm looking at this, they're looking at this, they know, and I don't have to say this stuff should be updated. Or else it just, it's a bad look, and it's going to take way longer. It's going to be a larger waste of time if they don't have these things updated. Why do we need them updated? So we have better visibility into what I'm about to do. And you'll see that they are invested in having all of these things updated, because they know that if they do, they're going to make more money and they're going to get more help. And it's real help, not some BS help, right? So we go through here, and you have all of these different little qualifier things that are important to us for our deal view. What the prospect type is. TMS means it's a software sale. You see, most of our deals at this point are software sales, because the larger the account is, the higher chance that they need our software. And then you have brokerage. These are ones that are just doing freight with us. They're not worried about the TMS that we provide. Deal notes, next steps, close date. You'll see on this one in particular, there's a couple of close dates that need to be updated because they're taking place before this, on the 16th, and it is not the 16th. We are past that now at this point. But most of them, for the most part, are updated. And then you have next steps. And what I want you to pay attention when it comes to the next steps is this right here, where it says hypo, HIPO. So when I go through the deal walk with them, we go through the notes, we go through the next steps. Where are you at on this? And a lot of times they'll be like, man, this one's stuck. An example I'll give you is that in our process, you'll have a prospect that says, yeah, I'm interested. I'd like to start quoting with you guys. Start quoting means like, hey, I've got a shipment that I need to ship out, and they want to quote the shipment with us. All right, cool. So for anyone to do that with us, we had to send them over an onboarding document that's essentially a credit app. So we shoot that over to them, and then we need to get that back. It was really difficult back in the day because it was a hard copy. We'd send them a PDF. They'd have to print it, sign it, scan it, and send it back. Now we do it all through PandaDoc, which makes it way easier. But still, when you send out that PandaDoc, it doesn't mean that it's going to come back right away. They might be like, I don't have all the information here. I need to get the tax ID. I need to get this. So they may get off the phone without you being able to walk them through that. And then it's stuck. They might say, man, I can't get a hold of them. Or every time I reach out to them, I hear the same thing. I'm having trouble getting the credit app back. When we run into cases like that, where the seller is stuck, they're trying, but they can't get past something, they need help, I tell them, write hypo. HIPO stands for high potential. In reality, this is an old thing that I learned at PandaDoc from our old VP of sales, Jim Donovan, and he used to have us flag these just for when there are large deals that might close. I use it differently. I use it for really any deal, because all of the deals that are in our pipeline at this point are large enough to be worth me looking at. In fact, this deal view that you're looking at right here is filtered. It's filtered to, if they ship less than 50 a month, we don't even look at it. I'm not interested in talking about it. If you close it, but you're not going to get any help because it's not worth anyone's time. It's barely worth the salesperson's time. In fact, we've kind of figured out that it's not worth the salesperson's time. This view right here is filtered by any next steps that have the word hypo in it. So we go through our first one-on-one. We do that on Monday. We go through the deals. All right, where are you at on this one? What is this? And it might be one that it may not need to be hypo, but he needs to talk through it. We talk through the deal. We get an idea of what's next. I have a good idea of what's going on in funnel. I feel like I have my finger on the pulse after I have that meeting. And then the next day we have an hour-long meeting. And this is with both of our sellers, and that's our hypo meeting. And in that meeting, we literally go through anything that is marked hypo, and we talk through it and we get creative on it. And it's not just, and really it's me doing the work here. So we talk through it, and they might be like, yeah, I'm having trouble getting the credit app. All right, cool. Do they pick the phone up? I will pick the phone up right then and there and call them, and I will get it unstuck. And what that does is two different things, really three. All right, so the first one is it gets stuff unstuck. Things that are in pipeline or in funnel that are stuck. I have nearly 20 years of sales experience. My sellers don't. They don't put together, and that's not their fault, but I'm a resource. And I know what I'm doing, and I know how to get creative, and I've seen a lot of different scenarios, and I know how to move something along in pipeline where sometimes it gets stuck. So a lot of these deals that are stuck all of a sudden aren't stuck because I get on the phone with them, or I get creative in other ways. You know, we had an example where the person that we were working with, our champion, or close to a DM almost, no longer works with the company. Or they were moved to another department completely, and now we're stuck. We don't have anyone to get a hold of, and no one's picking the phone up. It's a direct line, and it goes to nothing. So we had no way of getting a hold of anyone. So I connected with the owner on LinkedIn and messaged him while we were in the hypo meeting and said, hey, we were working with you guys. We had a lot of things that were looking like going to be helpful to y'all. Look like we're going to be able to help save you some money and definitely help you out on the service side of things as well. Who would be the person that's handling that now that so-and-so is no longer in the department? And within 5 minutes, we were still on the call. The owner accepted my connect request, replied, and gave me the name and email of the person that I needed to reach out to, emailed them, and now that's turned into a deal. We got it unstuck, and then we ended up closing them. As a matter of fact, right after this podcast, I have a welcome call with like a meet and greet because they are now in onboarding with us. And it's a pretty large deal, much larger than what one of my sellers would have closed total for a month last quarter. And we closed that within a couple of weeks of getting it unstuck. So that's the first thing is we get deals unstuck. The next one is, as opposed to a deal walk, I want all of my sellers in the hypo meeting, even if I'm doing something that's for the other sellers. And it really doesn't affect them because they're learning how I get things unstuck. They're learning the turn of phrase. They're learning the approach, the strategy, how I execute it, what my tone is, different things that I'm going to be doing. And I explain it to them while I'm doing it. When we get off the phone, I might quickly give them a 30-second breakdown of what it is that I did and how I applied it and how it worked. So I know that I'm training them every month as well, or every month, it's every week as well, where I'm going to have better salespeople at the end of the call because they're going to get development as well. They're going to get one-on-one development when I'm in their funnel, but they're also going to get group development where they're seeing how I handle other scenarios for the other salespeople. And then the third one is I become legitimized as a leader and as someone that they can rely on and someone that they can trust with their deals, which is important when you're a manager. So I learned this when there's three different ways or three different places that I was at, and I had three different experiences in terms of taking over as a manager, and they were wildly different from one to another. Worked at three different software companies, and my experience of how the salespeople received me as a manager and wanted to work with me and their level of enthusiasm and how they worked based on how I led them was massively different, and I think I figured out why that is. So the first place in tech sales where I was a manager was Fleetmatics. This was in person. I started in 2013, and I started as an SDR. And I whipped ass as an SDR. I got promoted within a month and a half, but I was leading the board when I got promoted, and I was exclusively cold calling. It wasn't like they were throwing me inbounds or anything like that. Then I moved to AE. Absolutely busted my ass, and I was one of the top AEs in the company before I got promoted to director of sales. And then when I was leading people, no one really second guessed my methods because they saw me grow my career there and beat essentially everybody. They knew that I was the real deal before I took the role firsthand, not based on videos of me that they saw, not based on things that they had heard about me. They saw it. They saw me grow my career there, and they saw me perform there. So it was very easy when I came in for people to want to work with me, for people to want to get a second voice on a deal, for them to respect what I do as a leader. The PandaDoc was a little bit different. So when PandaDoc I came in, I took over already as a director of sales because of what I had done at Fleetmatics. But that was also in person. So it wasn't tough because they saw me in person. They saw me running meetings. I'm a big personality. They saw how I was motivating people, how I was training people. I was right next to them. And it wasn't that tough. was probably, maybe it took a little bit more of me having to kind of prove myself because they hadn't seen me come up through the ranks at PandaDoc, but it wasn't that difficult. And then the final one, I literally can't even tell you the name of the place because both sides have signed something that said we won't talk about each other because it turned out to not be a good fit on either side. But at that place, I came in fully remote because of the pandemic. They had not seen how I had come up in my career. This is before I was posting a lot of content or videos online. So it wasn't like my reputation kind of preceded itself or anything like that. You know, it was somewhere where they really had no reason outside of just like, trust me, I know what I'm doing. And I had a much harder time leading there than I did at Fleetmatics and than I did at PandaDoc, to the point that I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing with those reps. Now, also, I think that those reps, for being kind of candid, weren't the best people, weren't the most respectful people, didn't really want to work with anybody. They were, you know, you hear about AEs being prima donnas. This was a whole different level of prima donna. But at the end of the day, I try to have a my fault mentality, right? So when breaking down what went wrong at that place, what I think of is, man, if I had this motion that I'm telling you guys about right now, where, all right, we've got a one-on-one where we do a deal walk, and I think when I was there, that's kind of where I left it, is we do a deal walk, and that was kind of it. It wasn't like, hey, if you have anything that's stuck, mark it, and then we'll have another meeting where we go through all of these, and you guys can watch me talk to prospects and see that I can provide tangible value to you that will make you money, and also let them see that I'm not just a manager that's not doing anything all day, that's expecting them to deliver results from me where I make money off of them without providing them value. That's a massive problem if your reps think that way. And I realized that there. So when coming in at Rocket, it took a little bit of time for us to build our funnel up the right way, to build up the right value in our deal walk and in our funnel. And I don't need to be sharing this anymore. We're going to stop sharing. But I don't ever second guess myself here at Rocket in terms of how my reps view me and whether or not they view that I'm adding value to them. Because I know when I get on that call, that's my favorite call that I have all week. Because I know at the end of that call a few different things. I mean, number one, I really move things along for them. You know, think about it. If you're a salesperson, you get on a call with your manager and you've got a funnel of, let's say, 20 different deals that you're working. If even one of them that was stuck is now no longer stuck and you have tangible next steps and things are moving along when they weren't, you feel great. And we do that with more than just one. We do it with a bunch of them. You know, we get off the call and we've got 5 or 6 different deals that have progressed when otherwise they were not progressing. And if we didn't have the call, it would have been very difficult for them to progress them, not because they don't know what they're doing, but because 2 heads are better than 1. And because I've seen quite a bit in sales, so I can help move things along. So when I took over as head of sales, now I'm head of revenue because I handle the marketing side as well, but when I took over as head of sales, it was so our co-host, Gabe, who is the CEO and founder of Rocket Shipping, could focus on other things, focus on CEO things where he's not like in the trenches every single day on the sales side. My goal as head of sales was to provide Gabe with better visibility into the sales funnel than he had when he was right in the thick of things with the sellers. So part of the way that we did that was what you saw on that deal view, staging things out, laying out every single thing about the deal, the volume, the deal notes, what the next steps are, what the close date is, and then making sure that I am ensuring that those things are updated, they're on point, we've got a plan, and having a meeting every single week where it's not just about having a plan, I'm a part of executing that plan. If anything gets stuck, I'm there to move it along. I'm there to assist. And I also assist with sales meetings and everything like that. I'm getting on there with the salespeople as well, helping lock down next steps, helping get things closed, helping draft ROI calculators, proposals, all of those things. But I will say when it comes to turning your sales team and your revenue into something that's really predictable, where it's like a conveyor belt, and I know we're going to keep getting deals in, this is how I do it. I get a look at funnel with each one of them on a one-on-one basis, and I can see, all right, you're crushing it. Look at the size of the monthly volume that is at stage 6, where it's close to closing. We borderline have a verbal from those deals. And then you look and you say, oh, wait, but there's like 3 SQLs. Here's the risk there. The risk is that we have a lot of great stuff bottom of funnel that is looking like it's going to close. I've got my eyes on it. I'm active in it. We're working together. We're going to get these deals in. If there's a chance that these deals can close, we are going to close them. But what happens after they close? And we have 3 SQLs to work with, but the conversion rates are lower at an SQL than they are at stage 6. Stage 6, it's close to 100% that we're going to get that deal. At SQL, we haven't even booked a meeting yet. There's no way that the conversion rate is that high. In other words, we need way more SQLs than we need stage 6s. And if we only have 3, that's a problem. So we need to ramp up activity. And I don't just tell them, hey, you need to dial more. I say, hey, like, what's getting in the way of you being able to dial more that I can take off your plate? Is there meetings that are breaking up your time where it's hard for you to get momentum going? Like, what can we do to help here? And by the way, my salespeople at this point want to dial the phone more. They'd love to dial the phone more. You know why? They know that every dial that they make has more value today than it did 3 months ago. Because they know anything that they introduce into funnel, they can dispatch me on. And I can get in there and help. And they know, based on these hypo meetings that we have, that anything that I touch is going to have a higher conversion rate. Just because I'm a good salesperson. You know? Who are we fucking kidding? I'm a great salesperson. I've been doing this for 20 years at a very high level. So because of that, they have more reason to want to dial the phone more because they start to view it where it's not an arbitrary dial. They start to view it like every time they pick that phone up, they make more money. And they have a higher chance of making more money, which excites them to do more activity. But I look at that and say, all right, I can tell by looking at the funnel how much is in what stage, where there may be not necessarily cause for concern, but I can see where there could be a cause for concern 2 weeks from now today and say, hey, just want to call out, you're crushing it. And I always make sure that I build them up. By the way, it's not hard to do because the team is killing it right now. You know, they follow direction. They've always been on point when it comes to those things. So it makes it easy, makes my job easy. But I'll tell them, like, hey, you're crushing it. Bottom of funnel, I mean, you're going to hit your target for the year probably midway through next quarter. That being said, we're not here to hit targets. We're here to make as much money as physically possible. And they both agree. Obviously, they're coin operated. Thank God. They wouldn't be here if they weren't, because I'm not interested in never working with a salesperson that doesn't want to make as much money as possible. We have the right people. But it's hey, top of funnel, it looks like it's a little thin. It's not a huge concern now, but you definitely want to make sure that you try to ramp up activity just to make sure that you're filling it with more SQLs that we can continue to work. So the stuff that you're getting this month, these huge deals, these big closes, they don't end with the month. We get more in the funnel, and then next month we keep doing it, and we keep doing it, and we keep doing it. I'm making sure that funnel is healthy at all stages. I'm making sure that we're introducing the right things at all stages, not in a micromanaging way, because these guys view me not like I'm a coach. I try to be more like a quarterback. I'm on the field with them, working these deals, getting these deals in. I'm not just telling them to go work. I want to do the work as well. And I don't want to take over and take things from them, but I'm here when they need help. That's why I let them ask for the help. I'm not just I'm not running in there and taking deals away from them. They write hypo when they need assistance. And because those meetings have gone really well, there's more and more hypo things each week, which I don't mind. Because that just means that there's more that I can work on that affects our number and makes a massive difference. So if you want to turn your sales team into, really predictable, the best way of being able to do that as a manager, or even if you're a founder, is to get your ass in there with them. That's the best way of being able to do it. You want them to get bought in? Give them a reason to be bought in. You want them to follow you? Give them a reason to follow you. You want them to want to dial the phone? Give them a reason to want to dial the phone more. Don't just say this is what you have to do. Give them reasons. It's the same as when you're in the gym, right? If you're in the gym and you're working out for a week straight, 2 weeks straight, 3 weeks straight, you see zero results. Nothing. You don't see a vein pop. You don't see a pound less. You don't see your clothes starting to fit better. It's going to be a lot harder for you to keep doing that week in and week out over and over and over again. But if everyone went in the gym the first day and they noticed results after the first day and they continue to notice results day in and day out, you'd have a lot more people that are in the gym in February than are in the gym January 1st. So as a sales manager or as a sales leader, that's your job. You need to make sure that your sellers are seeing tangible results, positive, tangible results. And you need to call those out and promote them and excite them. Let them know that you're proud of them. I can't really stress enough how important that part is. I feel like a lot of managers have kind of gotten away from that, of saying like, man, you're crushing it, man. I'm proud to see how far you've come from right now to even a few months ago in terms of where your funnel is, the way that you handle a deal. Like those compliments, number one, they should be genuine also. And it's a lot easier to make them genuine the more that you're really in the thick of it with them, helping sell deals, getting involved in deals, not to micromanage. You're on the team with them. No wide receiver has ever complained about a quarterback micromanaging them. They're working together. If one does well, the other one is probably going to do well. They have the same end goal. It's a very similar concept. So again, the real way to turn your sales team into a conveyor belt, where the sales are just moving along and that conveyor belt isn't going to slow down and isn't going to stop. It's steadily repeatable. It's predictable. You know what's going to happen there. Meet with them. Get a look at pipeline. Don't micromanage when it comes to getting a look at pipeline, but what you're looking for is to see whether or not there's one area where they're crushing it and maybe an area that it's like, all right, cool, we need to move things along. Let's say they have a whole bunch at top of funnel. Same concept. You need to be like, all right, cool, how can we get these things moved along? In hypo meeting, you're probably going to focus on their top of funnel stuff because it looks like some things are stuck. Help them book some meetings. Help move some things along. Help build up their confidence. Help get them excited for their funnel. If you have a salesperson that's excited about their funnel, it's a wrap. They're going to crush it. It's when they're not excited about their funnel that you run into a problem. And just invest in your team. Invest in your team and get involved in deals in a positive way and not a negative way. Trust me, as soon as we started to do this, we noticed a massive difference because this happens a lot where you'll have a sales leader that, or you'll have a top A player, top performing individual contributor salesperson, and then you move them into a leadership role. That shouldn't reduce the amount of sales that you get. It should increase it. But the only way that it increases it is if that top seller takes their top salesmanship and injects it into the deals that are in the funnel for the team that they're now leading. And if you're not doing that and you just move in and now you're managing and that's it, all right, well then all of the things that made you great are now no longer making an impact for the number. That's a problem. And it's going to be really tough for your team to want to work for you and work with you if that's the case. So if you, by the way, just to call this out, I meant to call this out ahead of time. I do realize that this is a podcast and it's not just on YouTube. But I will say when it came to the deal views on this one and everything like that, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'd recommend that you start to watch the episodes on YouTube, just for when we have visuals, like we showed a deal view today, for example. So it's not hard to find. Just search Rocket Revenue Podcast on YouTube, and you'll find us pretty quick. And we'll include links wherever we have the podcast out and everything like that. But if you have an idea for an episode, you have a question, you have a comment, you have something that you want us to shed more light on, you can either leave a comment on our YouTube on this episode, or just connect with me on LinkedIn. I accept all LinkedIn connections. You can just search me, Troy Barter, connect with me, hit me up. I'd love to hear about it, and we will make sure that whatever it is that you have a question about goes to the front of the line, and we'll try to address it on the next episode. And that's that. Holler at your boy.